All right, Chicago. Shut the door. Settle in with that coffee.
Yeah, get comfortable.
Maybe lace it with a little Irish, because the anxiety is real.
Hey, you might need
The
it.
midway is absolutely vibrating. The air.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you, it smells like two things: desperation and opportunity.
It does.
We are locked in for the Rams game this Sunday, and this is not just another deep dive.
No, this is a strategic assessment.
It's a strategic survival guide for the biggest football game this city has seen in years.
It is. It's about sustainability. You look at where this team is, and it's a direct reflection of Ryan Poles' whole vision.
A long-term plan.
Exactly. He's building this thing brick by painstaking PFF-graded brick. But right now, this week, we've got 3 explosive stories, and these aren't just media headlines.
No, they're not. They are like strategic seismic shifts that define the immediate playoff challenge and the long-term future of our Bears.
That's it.
I got to level with you. I'm already skeptical, and we haven't even started. This city's been burned too many times.
Well, let's get into it.
But let's not waste time. We are talking about the massive 3 interconnected pieces of news that have absolutely dominated the discussion this week, defining the challenge right now.
That's right. First, we have DeAndre Swift. His performance just got the kind of pro-football-focused recognition that makes every single person who doubted him last year,
Including us.
including professional analysts and certainly some folks right here in Chicago, look completely out of touch. It's a full redemption story, and we got to understand the data behind it.
Okay, second, we're shifting gears from the immediate present to the inevitable future.
Right.
We're zeroing in on a defensive prospect who, according to the sources, is the answer, the generational anchor who could finally solve the crisis, the black hole in the middle of our defensive line for the next decade.
And third, and this is where that skeptical midway mentality really kicks in,
Oh, yeah.
we're dissecting the family feud and the coaching connection involving the LaFleur brothers. It's got a foul odor, and it raises serious suspicion about the ethics of information sharing right before this massive Sunday game.
The mission is clear. We are dissecting every single nugget of fact, every PFF grade, and every evasive quote from the source materials. We got to figure out if Chicago is truly, finally building a sustainable, consistent winner.
Or if this is just another one of those flashes in the pan.
Another exhilarating, short-lived, almost season that ends in heartbreak.
Because I guarantee you, after this deep dive, you're going to question everything you thought you knew about the relationship between high-level coaching, analytics, and whether the Rams are attempting to play dirty in this playoff chess match.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start where the optimism is strongest, for the guy we all, and I mean all of us, dismissed a year ago. Let's talk about DeAndre Swift.
Absolutely. We have to start there. This is the story of total redemption, and it is the single greatest example of the infrastructure Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson have quietly built beneath the surface.
Chicago has always been a running back town. I mean, we've had the legends, right? The ghost of Walter Payton, the punishing consistency of Matt Forte. We know instinctively what elite game-controlling running back play looks like. But post-Forte, man, we hit a rough patch that was longer than the Eisenhower on a Friday.
Hey, it's true. And the problem wasn't just losing talent, it was losing identity.
Yeah.
Jordan Howard had some flashes, David Montgomery had all the heart and grit in the world, but we never had that back. The guy who could consistently break the game open, keep the defense honest, and truly win you a playoff game by dominating the clock.
And that history, that long shadow of disappointment, that is precisely why the fan base, and we have to be honest, a lot of analysts, were so overwhelmingly skeptical of DeAndre Swift coming into the 2025 season.
Oh, yeah.
We saw the 2024 failure,
Yeah.
which was, the baseline mediocrity that defined his first year here.
Let's nail down that baseline. It's not just a feeling, it's a fact. In 2024, Swift averaged just 3.8 yards per carry.
3.8.
Now, 3.8 YPC in this league is simply unacceptable for a starting back, especially one receiving starter snaps. That means on first down, you're likely setting up 2nd and 7.
At the time.
On 3rd and short, you're often getting stuffed. That lack of efficiency, it just makes an offense predictable and stalls drives.
And the PFF data, I mean, that just solidified that unacceptable status. They gave him was it a 61.3 grade for the 2024 season?
61.3, and we have to explain what that number means to you, the listener.
Right.
For anyone less familiar with PFF's whole methodology, a grade between 60 and 65 is basically the line between being a replacement-level player, someone who is strictly average, and someone who is actively hurting the team.
And at 61.3.
At 61.3, Swift was in the bottom 25% of starting running backs. He was classified as mediocre and critically replaceable on a championship contender roster.
That context is vital. Because of that 61.3 grade, the chatter, the frustration, the demanding tone from the fan base, it was all about the draft.
Oh, 100%.
I remember the sources detailing the collective feeling. Ryan Poles must draft a running back. We were talking high picks, potentially even spending the first rounder we ended up having on someone like Ashton Jeanty.
You couldn't blame them.
No. There was zero confidence that Swift could ever reach his potential. We were writing him off.
The skepticism was completely justified by the analytics available at the time. When you look deeper at that 61.3 grade, it correlated to poor advanced metrics. His broken tackle rate was abysmal, and his success rate on runs against a stacked box was near the bottom of the league.
He wasn't doing anything with what he was given.
He wasn't maximizing the limited space the 2024 offensive line gave him. Simple as that.
Okay, but then the 2025 season hit, and this is where the conversation shifts entirely, because this wasn't just a slight improvement. This was a complete structural detonation of expectation.
A detonation is the right word. Pro Football Focus, the same source that gave him the failing grade a year prior, named DeAndre Swift the NFL's most improved RB in 2025.
Most improved.
That title isn't handed out lightly. It confirms a transformation in both his effectiveness and his efficiency.
Let's hammer this home with the definitive, stone-cold facts from the source material, because these are career highs across the board for Swift.
Get this.
236 carries, 1,141 rushing yards, and 10 touchdowns. Over 1,100 yards. That is the kind of consistent, elite production this franchise hasn't relied on since the mid-2010s.
And here is the true indicator of positional mastery, the metric that analysts trust most. The PFF grade explosion. He vaulted from that mediocre, replaceable 61.3 grade all the way up to a verified 82.7.
Whoa. Okay, now let's translate that 82.7 for our listeners, because that's a huge jump.
That 82.7 doesn't just mean good. In the PFF ecosystem, anything above 80.0 signifies elite status. It shows positional dominance and consistency against the best competition.
So he went from replaceable to elite.
In 1 year, that jump ranked him as the ninth best qualified running back in the entire league. Think about that trajectory. In 1 calendar year, Swift transitioned from a player we were actively seeking to replace to a consensus top 10 running back in the NFL. That speaks volumes about something fundamental changing.
And this is where my Chicago skepticism needs to inject some friction. So what does this all mean? Did Swift suddenly become a better running back? Or did the investment in the offensive line finally pay off, making him look better?
A fair question.
Isn't this a red flag that his performance is scheme and infrastructure dependent? I mean, if Ben Johnson leads next year, does Swift just go back to being the 61.3 guy we saw in 2024?
That is a critical, absolutely fair call. But the deep dive into the advanced metrics separates the truth. Yes, the offensive line improvement, and you got to credit Poles for that, was foundational.
No doubt.
The run blocking success rate, or RBSR, for the Bears line jumped dramatically. It gave Swift cleaner initial looks. However, the data also shows a massive personal leap from him.
Give me the specifics. What changed in Swift's personal metrics?
Okay, so his broken tackle rate per touch more than doubled in 2025 compared to 2024.
Doubled.
Furthermore, his yards after contact, his YAC, jumped from 2.1 yards in 2024 to 3.0 yards in 2025. This tells you he is running with better vision, better leverage, and greater determination.
So he's making his own yards too.
Exactly. An average back benefits from an elite line. An elite back maximizes an elite line. Swift transitioned from the former to the latter. The talent was always there. We saw flashes in Detroit and Philly. But the structure built by Poles gave him the confidence and the lanes to execute.
So we have to credit Ryan Poles for building one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, which is the necessary prerequisite.
For sure.
But we also have to credit Ben Johnson's coaching, because he built a system that maximizes Swift's specific skill set.
Precisely. Johnson's scheme is a masterpiece of accommodation. Swift isn't built to be a 250-pound Derrick Henry smashing into a wall. He relies on vision, speed, and open field playmaking.
Right.
So Johnson uses these zone blocking schemes that allow Swift to hit the hole quickly and use his lateral speed. The sources noted a significant increase in the use of RPOs and play-action concepts, which forces those second-level defenders to hesitate.
And that hesitation is all he needs.
That's all Swift needs. He's running less vertically into the heart of the line and more horizontally into space, where he can use that top-end speed.
He is now a devastating weapon. I mean, the
Yeah.
offensive impact of having a consistent 1,000-plus yard, 10 TD runner fundamentally changes the arithmetic for Caleb Williams.
Yes. It creates true offensive balance.
This is crucial for long-term sustainability.
It is. Defenses have to respect the run now. They can't just drop 8 men into coverage and dare Caleb Williams to beat them. If they stack the box, Williams has his elite receiving core Odunze, Moore, Allen in one-on-one matchups.
Which is a win for us every time.
An immediate win for the offense. And if they drop into coverage, Swift controls the clock, converts crucial third downs, and rests our defense.
And that balance is a true key to sustained playoff success. You need a running game in January and February.
You have to have it.
You need to control the clock, you need to keep your defense rested, and you need to convert those crucial third and shorts when the conditions are poor or the pressure is highest.
And that's where the Swift and Kyle Monongai duo comes in, which is another stroke of genius from Poles in structuring the depth.
The 1-2 punch.
Yeah. Swift brings the veteran speed, the receiving threat, the versatility. Monongai brings the rookie power, the fresh legs, the grinding ability between the tackles. Together, they create a multifaceted running attack that keeps the Rams' D coordinator, Raheem Morris, guessing every single snap.
The history lesson confirms this. You look at the Super Bowl winners over the last decade, it's not just the quarterbacks.
Not at all.
Leonard Fournette was crucial for the Bucs. Cam Akers, even though he was inconsistent, had game-changing moments for the Rams. Isaiah Pacheco is the engine of the Chiefs' dominance.
He is.
You cannot consistently win 3 or 4 straight playoff games in January and February by relying solely on the passing game.
You need that ground game to weather bad weather, to drain the clock when we have a lead, and to punch it in when it counts. And Swift has already proven he can handle the high-pressure moments.
Right, against the Packers in the wild card round.
He delivered 87 effective yards and a touchdown. The sources made a point to note those weren't 70-yard explosive runs. They were hard-fought, necessary, clock-killing runs that kept the offense on schedule.
That's what you need.
That consistency under duress is the hallmark of a true playoff runner.
So what does this massive 82.7 graded redemption mean for Sunday against the Rams?
Well, the Rams' defense is fundamentally fast and aggressive. They rely on penetration and speed to pressure the quarterback and disrupt timing.
So how do you beat that?
The single best way to neutralize that aggression is to run the ball effectively, forcing them to pause, forcing them to commit, and wearing them down physically over 4 quarters.
That's the formula. Swift gives Chicago the capacity to dictate the tempo, keep the Rams' defense on the field, and give Caleb Williams the clean pockets and necessary opportunities to make those game-changing downfield throws without resorting to panicked hero ball.
The skepticism is dead. Poles and Johnson were right to stick with Swift and invest in the infrastructure around him.
We're wrong.
The fans, us included, were wrong to write him off in 2024. He's the foundation of the balanced attack we need right now in the immediate present to win on Sunday. But that's only half the story of sustainability, isn't it?
No doubt. That brings us to the future. Because even with Swift's massive emergence helping us win now, Ryan Poles has a sacred duty to this fan base to keep building for the next 5 to 10 years.
Absolutely.
And if there is one position on this roster that screams instability and requires an immediate long-term fix, it's the interior defensive line.
This is the crisis point. We transition from the immediate optimistic present to the long-term analytical reality. Poles' entire vision is built around constructing something lasting, something that can withstand coaching changes and roster turnover.
Not just a one-hit wonder.
Exactly, not just a one-hit wonder team. But when you look at the interior defensive line, the sources confirm the data is not just bad, it's genuinely catastrophic.
Give us the hard, damning, factual detail, because this is where the PFF data makes my stomach churn, man.
The source material dropped a verified bomb that should alarm every single member of this fan base. Every single defensive tackle for our Bears finished the 2025 season with a PFF grade of 60.0 or worse.
Every single one. I need you to explain what that 60.0 means in the context of defense, because that is the most alarming single stat we have on the entire roster.
That 60.0 threshold is essentially the dividing line between being a marginally effective player and someone who is actively hurting the defense.
This hurting you.
It means that, on average, these players are losing their one-on-one battles more often than they are winning them. They are failing to hold their ground, failing to consistently generate pressure, and worst of all, failing to control the run.
And we see the cascading effects of that catastrophic interior weakness every time we play a physical, disciplined running team.
Oh, every time.
When the interior D-line can't hold the point of attack,
Yeah.
everything breaks down behind it.
It creates a domino effect. The linebackers, who are supposed to be shooting gaps and making plays, are instead getting washed out at the second level by offensive linemen who are already in position.
Because the D tackles got moved.
Because the defensive tackles were bodied or moved off the ball immediately. This forces the defensive backs to cover for extended periods because there's no interior pressure, and opponents just run straight through the A and B gaps for consistent, demoralizing gains.
Dennis Allen's defensive philosophy is built from the inside out. He needs tackles who can anchor, who can occupy multiple blockers, and who can aggressively stop the run and push the pocket.
And without that
interior dominance, the entire scheme is fundamentally compromised. We've seen moments where the pass rush gets home, but we've also seen games where we get absolutely gashed up the middle, especially late in games.
And the difference is almost always traced back to the inability of the interior line to maintain stability.
That's a systemic weakness.
It is. The sources indicate that the total run-stop percentage generated by the Bears' interior line in 2025 was among the bottom 5 in the league. You simply cannot sustain championship defense with that level of porousness in the middle.
Okay, so if that's the crisis, a true, documented analytic black hole, let's introduce the solution. The draft savior, identified by PFF for 2026, Caden McDonald from Ohio State.
McDonald is the ideal 2026 draft target, identified by the analytics community as the foundational piece Poles needs. He is projected to be available potentially around pick 25.
Which is right where we're picking.
Exactly where Poles is currently slated to pick. But his metrics are not just good, they are elite and historic.
Okay, let's get to the gold standard.
In 2025, Caden McDonald led all interior defenders in college football with a jaw-dropping 91.2 PFF run defense grade.
91.2.
Not just good in his conference, but leading the entire country. His overall defensive grade was 86.5, making him the best defensive lineman among all Power 4 conferences.
The best run defender in college football. You cannot ask for a more immediate and transformative fix for a defense that has a 60.0 grade black hole in its most critical position.
And this is where we need to translate that 91.2 grade into specific football technique. What does that kind of dominance look like?
Tell me.
It means superior leverage and violent hand usage. The sources highlight that McDonald rarely loses the pad-level battle. He fires off the snap low, gets his hands inside the chest of the offensive lineman, and then uses a violent, quick-shed technique to disengage and make the tackle.
He's a gap controller.
He is. He doesn't just eat space, he destroys plays.
And that technique, that dominance, is why he's a perfect fit for Dennis Allen's system. Allen needs gap controllers, guys who generate penetration and disruption, not just static anchors.
Exactly. McDonald can play the 3 technique, utilizing his quickness to get into the backfield, but he also has the raw power and anchor strength to play 1 tech and demand double teams.
He's versatile.
If Poles can land him, he wouldn't just be filling a need. He'd be adding a franchise cornerstone, a long-term defensive stabilizer for the next decade.
The potential pairing is what gets me excited about the long-term vision. Shamar Turner, our 2025 first-rounder.
Who we barely got to see.
Right. Missed most of his rookie year with that knee injury, but he's expected back healthy in 2026. Imagine that interior pairing.
Oh, man.
Turner bringing speed and athleticism off the edge, combined with McDonald's raw power and dominant run stopping in the middle. 2 young, elite talents growing together. That is how you build a championship defense that can compete for years.
That's the formula for dynasty construction. Look at the history of the league. Aaron Donald redefined the Rams defense immediately. Fletcher Cox anchored the Eagles' Super Bowl run. Chris Jones is arguably the most valuable non-quarterback in the NFL. McDonald has the potential to be that kind of game changer for our Bears. The piece that shifts the defense from good enough sometimes to consistently dominant.
But here's the skeptical Chicago voice and the inevitable draft strategy debate. Here we go.
My main concern is he actually going to be there at pick 25? Because if McDonald continues this level of analytical dominance through the testing process, that 91.2 PFF grade is going to vault him into the top 15.
That is the absolutely critical question Poles faces, and it is a massive risk. McDonald is a high-risk, high-reward target because of his phenomenal run defensibility.
So if he jumps?
If he jumps into the top 15, Poles might have to trade up aggressively, potentially sacrificing the kind of future draft capital, maybe a future first or multiple seconds, that he desperately needs needs to build offensive depth or address the secondary.
Is he worth the cost of trading up from 25 into the top 15? I mean, we need offensive line depth, we need linebacker depth. Giving up a future premium pick for one interior defensive lineman, that feels like putting all your chips on one number.
But I would argue this is a non-negotiable foundational piece. If Poles truly believes McDonald is that transformational talent, the guy who fixes the most alarming structural weakness on the entire roster, then the cost is absolutely worth it.
You think so? You build through the trenches, always, and you have to consider the division. We face Aaron Jones, Alexander Mattison, and the explosive Jahmyr Gibbs twice a year. If you can't control the interior, those teams will systematically control the clock and wear you down every time.
So we're talking about McDonald not just as a defensive tackle, but as a strategic necessity to compete in the NFC North moving forward.
Yes.
He elevates the entire unit.
He does. It cleans up the mess for the linebackers, freeing them to make plays. It allows Dennis Allen to be more aggressive with his blitz concepts, knowing the interior is anchored.
It changes everything.
While we're focused on the playoffs right now, Poles is playing the long game. His goal is to make the Bears a contender year after year, and that requires smart, aggressive drafting to address critical systemic weaknesses. The interior D-line, with every tackle grading 60.0 or worse, is clearly the biggest weakness identified by the analytics.
We've been waiting for a truly dominant defensive tackle who can anchor this franchise since Akeem Hicks' prime, maybe even back to Tommy Harris before the injuries derailed him.
It's been a long time.
McDonald could be that guy. Poles needs to prioritize this position because, as the old saying goes, if you can't control the line of scrimmage, you can't control the game. It's that simple, and the PFF grades prove it.
So we've established the present is solved with Swift's 82.7 emergence, validating Poles' offensive infrastructure build, and we've identified the future's most critical defensive need and its elite solution in Caden McDonald.
So now we get to the dirty part.
Now we turn to the immediate threat. The psychological and strategic chess match unfolding right now this week against the Rams.
All right, let's pivot now to Sunday, because this third topic has all the hallmarks of a classic, suspicious Chicago conspiracy theory, and I am absolutely locked in for it.
Oh, yeah.
We are talking about the LaFleur betrayal and the playoff chess match against Sean McVay.
This is where we get suspicious, Midway style, and rightly so. The controversy centers around Rams head coach Sean McVay being asked directly by reporters if he sought insider intel from his very close friend, Packers HEC Matt LaFleur,
Who just played us?
on how to beat our Bears following the wildcard game.
The Packers just played us. They know our scheme intimately. And McVay's response was less than reassuring. In fact, it was the definition of an evasive non-denial.
100%.
Which in Chicago means he absolutely did it.
It was a beautiful piece of verbal dodging. He was asked directly, and his specific quote was, "What do you guys think?" before giving the standard line about relying on tape, but quickly acknowledging Matt LaFleur is a very close friend.
Analyzing that evasion, what do you guys think? That is not a denial.
Not even close.
But denial is absolutely not, we trust our film study. That quote is the response of someone carefully choosing their words, almost winking at the media, implying something is happening without providing verifiable evidence. Why be so coy if you have nothing to hide?
You don't.
Why not shut that down immediately?
It immediately raises suspicion, and the context confirms that suspicion is legitimate. When you look at the coaching pipeline, the connection is deep, stemming from that famous coaching tree that has dominated the NFL for a decade.
The Shanahan tree.
McVay and Matt LaFleur are extremely close friends, dating back to their early assistant coaching days together in Washington. They essentially grew up professionally in the same system.
They share the same roots, the same philosophical DNA. But the connection that elevates this from just friendship to a legitimate strategic threat is the family dynamic.
That's the critical link. Mike LaFleur, Matt's younger brother, is the Rams' offensive coordinator.
There it is.
This creates a direct familial pathway for critical information exchange. You have Matt LaFleur, who just saw Ben Johnson's offense, Caleb Williams of operation, the specific zone runs, the favorite third down passing concepts firsthand in a high-stakes playoff environment just last week.
And are we really supposed to believe that Matt and Mike LaFleur haven't talked about the Bears this week?
Come on.
That there's been zero conversation about Williams' tendencies under pressure, or Johnson's favorite play calls on the goal line, or where the Packers' defense found specific weaknesses against them?
It's impossible.
Well, that's not just naive. It's insulting to the intensity of the playoffs.
It's a tangible, quantifiable strategic advantage. The Packers defense knows Johnson's operation, the tendencies, the weaknesses, and how Caleb Williams handles pressure in a playoff setting better than the Rams could learn from a week of film study.
Way better.
That specific, granular information, if transferred, allows the Rams defense to recognize formations, adjust to known tendencies, and diagnose plays much faster than typical preparation allows.
Let's get specific. What exactly does Matt LaFleur know that Ben Johnson has to assume is now in Sean McVay's hands?
He knows the nonverbal cues. He knows the specific alignment of the tight end that signals a zone run versus a play-action pass. More importantly, he knows the blitz pickups that failed against the Packers' interior rush.
The very area we just said is our crisis point.
The exact area. If the Bears have a known weakness in picking up an interior stunt on third down, Matt LaFleur saw it, and you bet that information is now tailored into a specific blitz package for the Rams.
So Ben Johnson has to assume the Rams possess the playbook for our tendencies. What's his counter move? This is where the chess match really begins.
Johnson must immediately throw out the script. He has to implement massive wholesale adjustments. We're talking about installing entirely new looks, new personnel packages, and strategic unpredictability designed specifically to counter the known tendencies that the LaFleurs may have shared.
He's got to get creative.
McVay, to his credit, publicly praised Johnson's flexibility and success with both Jared Goff and Caleb Williams, suggesting genuine respect for the scheme. But respect doesn't prevent him from leveraging insider information.
We need to see plays we haven't seen all year, new wrinkles, new motions. If the Rams' defense is coached up to recognize our base 11 personnel formations and tendencies, Johnson needs to live in 12 personnel or introduce unique 21 personnel sets they haven't prepared for.
The counter-adjustment game needs to start with the pre-snap process. If the Packers notice that Williams has a specific tell before certain run-pass options, Johnson needs to introduce silent counts and change the cadence.
Mess with their heads.
He needs to use pre-snap motion not just to identify coverage, but to force the Rams linebackers and safeties to commit to a direction, burning precious seconds of their insider intel advantage.
This requires incredible strategic creativity. Johnson has to anticipate what the Rams think they know and then pivot to something completely unexpected and new.
And this is a perfect opportunity for the friction point. We need to debate the execution factor versus the intel factor.
Okay.
While intel matters, it speeds up recognition, and diagnosis execution ultimately wins in the playoffs. McVay can gather all the insider information in the world about our scheme, but the Rams still need to execute the plays.
They still need to find a way to stop DeAndre Swift behind that elite offensive line, which we just established is playing at an 82.7 PFF level.
Right. And they still need to cover the elite receiving core Odunze, Moore, Allen, and man coverage. That is a tall order, even if you know the route concepts.
Knowing what's coming is one thing.
Knowing the recipe doesn't mean you can bake the cake.
Which brings us to the ultimate neutralizing factor against scheme intel. The Caleb Williams factor.
The ultimate wild card.
His ability to play outside of structure and extend plays is the ultimate insurance policy against any schematic information Matt LaFleur can provide.
No amount of schematic preparation can fully prepare a defense for a quarterback who can break the pocket, create a new throwing lane, and deliver an accurate throw 15 seconds into a play.
It all goes out the window.
Williams' improvisation nullifies the schematic advantage. If the Rams' defense is coached up to expect a specific play design or tendency, and Williams scrambles or breaks the pocket, that intel becomes immediately useless. It forces the defenders back into relying purely on their individual talent and athleticism.
We need to see Johnson leverage that. Instead of eliminating the tendencies, maybe he keeps them, but adds a wrinkle.
Ooh, I like that.
Say the Rams know our favorite zone read RPO. Johnson should call that play, knowing the Rams will diagnose it. But then Williams needs to be prepared to immediately check out of the RPO and launch a deep shot to a receiver who has broken off his route.
It's the highest level of football psychology. This is a chess match of adjustments and counter-adjustments. Our confidence must rest squarely on Ben Johnson's reputation as one of the best, most creative, and most aggressive play callers in the NFL.
He's got to earn that paycheck this week.
He's proven he can adapt. Now, he needs to prove he can outcoach a familial intel operation that may or may not be above board.
Here's my fear, though. Johnson gets too cute trying to counter those tendencies. He needs to stick to what works running Swift, utilizing the intermediate passing game, but add just enough wrinkles, maybe a few plays we haven't run since week 3, to slow down the Rams' adjustment speed.
It's about leveraging our strengths to force their adjustment. The Rams have to worry about the dominance of our trenches and the sheer talent of our skill positions. That is a difficult task, even with insider knowledge.
Right.
The challenge for Johnson is making sure the known information doesn't give the Rams a key advantage on third down or in the red zone, where play calling tendencies often tighten up under pressure. The margin for error is razor thin.
If we execute our best football, if the offensive line holds, if Swift churns out 100-plus yards, and if Williams doesn't turn the ball over, the intel advantage shrinks to near zero.
That's it.
This game, despite the outside noise, comes down to blocking, tackling, and catching the ball when it matters most.
The stakes are immense, and the LaFleur controversy just adds an unnecessary layer of intrigue and pressure. Johnson has to treat this week like the Rams know everything. And we, the fans, need to trust that his creativity and Caleb Williams' elite talent will overcome any external factors or any information shared between two close coaching friends.
Trust the process.
Trust the 82.7 grade of Swift, trust the infrastructure of the line, and trust the improvisational genius of Williams.
Okay, let's bring this all back home, Chicago style, and reflect on the full picture.
We've covered three massive interconnected themes that define the state of our Bears right now, both in the present and in the critical path to sustained future dominance.
In the present, DeAndre Swift has gone from a PFF-rated bench warmer with a 61.3 grade to the NFL's most improved RB, vaulting into the top 10 with an 82.7 PFF grade.
Huge deal.
This transformation validates Ryan Pohl's offensive line investments and Ben Johnson's scheme. Swift gives us the balanced attack required for a deep playoff run now.
The alarm bells are ringing on the long-term future of the interior D-line, with every tackle grading 60.0 or worse.
But there's a solution.
But the solution, Caden McDonald, the Ohio State star with a historic 91.2 run defense grade, is identified, providing a crucial opportunity for Poles to draft a franchise cornerstone and solidify the defense for the next decade.
And finally, the suspicious McVay-LaFleur family connection means Ben Johnson must assume the Rams have insider information on our specific scheme and weaknesses.
The chess match.
This is a true playoff chess match requiring massive counter adjustments and banking on Caleb Williams' unique ability to destroy structure and neutralize schematic advantages.
This team has proven it can win in multiple ways. Through grinding out yards, through explosive passing plays, and through suffocating defense when the scheme holds up. Every single detail matters in the playoffs.
It does.
And these three pieces of information tell us exactly where the team is succeeding, where the critical structural weaknesses lie, and where Poles must focus his attention next. The path to greatness is clear, but it requires execution at the highest level.
Here's the final provocative thought for you, Chicago. Something to chew on before Sunday's kickoff.
Okay.
Sean McVay can gather all the insider information in the world on our scheme, every tendency, every weakness Matt LaFleur can give him. But when this motivated Bears team is playing its absolute best football, when the offensive line is firing, when Swift is churning out 100 yards, and when Caleb Williams is playing outside of the pocket, can the Rams defense actually stop us?
That is the question. Execution trumps intel every time. The potential for long-term sustained dominance is right here, right now.
We are closer to greatness now, in this exact moment, with this analytic foundation, than at any point since the magical days of 1985.
I believe it.
The pieces are falling into place for long-term sustainability. But first, we take care of business this Sunday. We need maximum Monsters of the Midway energy.
Let's go.
Bear down.